Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the session 4. Today we have got Monique joining us. I will just bring her in now. Hello, Monique.
Hi.
And Monique is all the way from Uruguay. So she just said it is 1 o'clock there. And it's 4 o'clock here in the UK. And Monique is going to be talking to us about something that's really interesting, a new paradigm on education. So I'll let Monique just do a short introduction and then I will disappear and let her do her presentation. So Monique, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, everybody. So my name's Monique Sayers, and on Facebook, I'm Monique Corral. My daughter's name is Corral. So I'm a parent, I'm an educator, and I'm a meditation healer. What I envision for the world is actually that mindfulness matters. It's actually one of my core visions in life. So I was really happy to be coming on this summit today and to share all of that from my perspective as an educator and a parent, which actually are the same because we're all educators. I'll just leave it with that as my short intro. I'm so happy to be here, though.
Thank you for joining us. It sounds amazing. So without further ado, just before, if you're here, if you could just grant StreamYard the access, so as you come up with your name in the comments and not as Facebook user, then that would be amazing. So I will hand over to Monique and I will come back at the end. So I will see you later.
Okay, thank you. So namaste, everybody. So as you all know, my name is Monique Sayers, and I feel it's really important before we start any of these processes, especially in a mindfulness event, just to allow ourselves to be grounded. So whatever you're doing at this moment, I just invite you just to relax. Even if you're multitasking and you can't sit still at this moment, allow yourself to really settle into your body and just to feel into the stillness of the body. Practicing the art of listening is such a gift, as well as using the voice, which is what I am doing today in this presentation. So I just wanted to start with that, and I will go through my slides and explain what I'll be talking about. Okay, so I've got my first slide here. So I wanted just to explain a little bit about a new paradigm. So what is a new paradigm, and what is a new paradigm of education exactly? So what is Monique going to talk about, and what are you going to receive today? So this came as a vision for humanity, especially for our children, a year ago in my life, when I was seeing how I could serve children for their highest good. And what came through was that the world is changing before our eyes. The pandemic was the start of that. You would have seen how schooling has changed, the workforce has changed, life has changed. Well, from all of this, death, decay, destruction, sadness, depression, whatever you want to call it, from all of this has come this beautiful place of rebirth, which is the new paradigm. So a new paradigm is really, really, really about letting go of everything, like letting go of all the constraints in your life. So think about in school, the judgments, the anxiety, the competition, the ego, the time, everything needs to be running on a certain time frame. You need to pass. There's pressure. There's all of this stuff that is just redundant. It's just not necessary. It's just causing harm. It's not helping anybody. It's not going to be helping our learning. It's not going to be helping our mind if we're in these states of constant flurry. And what actually you then find is that because children have been given this system where they're 5 days a week focused, and a lot of the, sometimes they're having fun and playing, but other times there's anxiety and there's pressure. It can be at home, it can be at school. What I found then is that then flows onto the workforce, and then people are then working 5 days a week, and it's like this constant cycle. And it's like, well, when do we actually stop and enjoy, take a breath, be happy, and live our fullest divine purpose in life? And so what actually came through was, well, if the structure is going, then we're able to create something new, which will then flow on, not from just this generation, but to all generations. Because actually this generation of children, if they're inspired in a beautiful way with their education and they're happy, then they're going to be making different choices for what they do after school. Okay, so I'm not anti-college, I'm not anti-university, I'm not anti-intellect or anything like that. I'm all for everything. I just want it to come from this place of pure purpose. And there's so many different ways that that can unfold. Okay, so I'm just going to my next slide and explain a little bit more. So I always like to start these types of workshops by setting an intention. So if you're watching this on recording or you're out there live, feel free to just write your intention in the chat box or a question that you may have around, well, what is a new paradigm and what has it got to do with me? Or, you know, what has it got to do with mental health or whatever's there in your mind at this moment? I ask you just to free it out and write it down on the chat box, write it down on a piece of paper. And I'll address all of those because actually the most important thing is to create a vortex of beauty and of love. And by doing that, we are actually making a ripple effect across the world. And on a little side note, the book that I wrote, A New Paradigm of Education, which was co-authored by 8 other educators, parents, and leaders across the world. All of that was done without anxiety, without pressure. We didn't have a deadline for the book. We surfed, we had fun, we meditated. We basically created the book in a way that we thought would be role modeling that which we choose to want to offer in this new paradigm. Okay, so if you could just close your eyes and I could just take the slides off for a moment. I'll just get everybody to close their eyes. Feel themselves grounded down onto the earth. So to do that, you might like to just feel your feet on the floor. You may like to feel your feet on the seat. Just imagine there's this beautiful cord or this string that's pulling you down deeper and deeper into the earth. I want you to take a guided breath now, a really deep breath that goes from your feet, and it's going to go up through your body, up to the top of the head and higher. So let's all breathe together. Go. 1, 2, 3. Breathing in. Go higher, higher, higher. Hold your breath. Higher, hold your breath. Just sigh it all out. Make the noises, make the sounds, whatever you need to do to really, really ground into this space, because there's a lot of wisdom that we can co-create together. Okay, let's do one more. Breathing in, breathing up to the top of the head, higher than the head, holding it. We're letting it all out. And just one more final breath. So imagine these beautiful tree trunk roots that are in Mother Earth, breathing up through your feet, through your knees, through your legs, through your buttocks, through your stomach, into your heart, to your arms, your throat, into your face, in between your eyes, higher above your head, and go higher, higher, higher with your breath as if it's going to reach the moon. You can laugh, you can cry, whatever you need to do. Hold, and then if you can just drop down and just feel yourself present here. So I welcome you all to this space. And remember that this is a co-creative space. And the reason I'm saying that is because a new paradigm is about co-creation. So the problem that we've had in the world is this idea of the ego and the idea of competition. And we see that showing up in schools. We see that showing up on the bus. We see that showing up at the shopping mall. We see that showing up everywhere. This need for me, 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 me. I need this. And this need for, well, if I can't get it, I'm going to compete and take it. And actually, that is the old paradigm. It's really, really, really not needed. It's unnecessary. So to be able to move into the place of a new paradigm, it's actually really simple. It actually comes through mindfulness, because the more that you can be able to release your monkey mind, release whatever's happening in your day, and allow, when you're in that place of allowance, what happens? Your body moves into love, your body moves into joy, happiness. And so there is therefore no competition. What else happens? Well, actually, there's freedom and there's choice, because, you know, in the old paradigm, there's this kind of rigid way of thinking. Well, you know, we must follow a process in an exam, or we must follow a certain pathway. But actually, when you're in the mind, which I'm going to explain a little bit about the mind in a minute, there's this beautiful openness. There's an access to different aspects of the brain that we have been dormant in some people that are not using that aspect of their brain. And you're able to use this to create out-of-the-box things that you would never imagine for yourself, for your family, for your children. And it can happen at such a young age. For example, my daughter, who's 4 already now, she just naturally meditates because I meditate. I didn't teach her anything. I just would close my eyes and knew how important it was to practice. And so now it might be only 7 seconds or something. She'll get her fingers in this position, mudras, and she'll place it down and she'll close her eyes and say, "Mummy, I meditate." And she'll just drop down and feel that. And I know that that is beautiful because I know that learning is happening in a different way, that she's accessing the higher consciousness within her brain. And this is also going to be helping her learning, so, and making her happy. So that's why I really, really do care about mindfulness. I'd love the slides to come back again, and I'll just go through what I had outlined for us to do. But please remember that this is very open. If you had other questions, that's completely fine. So why mindfulness matters, why we are all educators, and why it's time to be responsible. What is the vision, or what is your vision for a new paradigm of education? Mindfulness is the key. So there's no ego in mindfulness, which I've started to talk about. I'm going to go through a guided meditation that you can give to your children. And I also have it recorded and written down as well. Some general tips that you can use in schools or in homes for mindfulness, and some really amazing resources. So I hope this is really helpful. There's a lot I can cover in terms of the content of what is a new paradigm of education from an educational perspective. But I've decided to focus on mental health, given that this is our topic for today. So as you can see, and as you probably have heard of, maybe your own family, maybe somebody you know, maybe if you're an educator, you've experienced this in the classroom. I know I have. So anxiety and depression affects many children. So you can see the statistics here. It says 7.1% of children are suffering anxiety and 3.2% are suffering depression. I would actually think that those numbers are a lot higher. There's probably a lot of people that are undiagnosed at home suffering, and it's not in the statistics. These statistics were based off a governmental site, and it's from March 2021. So, you know, I know myself in the classroom, I have faced many different types of children with different disorders and complex cases, but I actually end up treating them very similarly, because actually what I've realized is what they're all needing is connection. They're all needing my attention, my love. They're needing my time. They're needing time for themselves. And a lot of that goes past in schools where, the teacher may be having to have 30 children at once in a room, and they don't have the time, which isn't an excuse. It's just not an excuse, and also the results. There's a lot of empirical research, which I haven't included in here, but there's a lot of empirical research around results linked with different types of anxiety and depression that, children cannot actually physically learn when they're in that state. It's actually counterproductive. So, a teacher's there asking a child to, what's 3 times 2? And the child is sitting there blank. And the pressure inside of them is going, and their heart is racing, and it's real for them. And they're feeling like maybe their friends are going to laugh at them. They're feeling like, oh my gosh, what's the teacher going to think? Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Like, there's so many thoughts that go on in those like few seconds that one question that one teacher can ask can affect. And so I really feel there's a massive overhaul that needs to change in terms of education, which is why I'm just going to actually skip forward, which is why I've actually shared here that we are all educators. When I was in a deep form of meditation around a new paradigm of education, what I actually saw was a circle. And in this circle were our children. Around the circle was everybody who cares, parents, change makers, educators, business owners, students themselves. We were all forming a circle. And this is when I realized that this was the way that is wrong with the current framework, is that the teacher sitting at the front of the table, with the children all there, it's just it's just not going to work anymore. It's not going to work. We all need to be responsible. We are all educators. The moment our child is born, we are their, we are their first educators. Everything we're doing, every single moment we're with them, whether we're eating our food, brushing our teeth, going for a run, screaming, however we are reacting, the child is going to be learning. At the same time, children are learning regardless of us. They're learning from the plants, they're learning from the beach, they're learning just by their own schema. And then we have these figures called teachers, which I myself am a teacher. That's why I can say it in those terms. That in the olden days were supposed to be the people that were respected and listened to. And it's just not working. It's not cutting it. It needs to shift this framework to be, well, let's listen to the children. What do they need? What do they need? And how can I do that? And so in a new paradigm of education, there's plenty of space, because I envision these schools where all the leaders can come in and everybody can share. So for example, if your skill is like horticulture, you can come in and support the children with horticulture. If your skill is mindfulness, you can come and support the children that way. So that it's not just this one leader. It's like the children are all being led by a group of people that all really want to rise up. And at the same time, we're giving them space to rise up into their to themselves. All of this is related to mindfulness, because actually, if people are living on task, if they're living in their full purpose, if they're happy, if they're given choices, then all of that is mindfulness. It's not just sitting there closing your eyes and meditating. It's actually, what am I doing? What am I serving? Am I happy doing that? And it all comes back to happiness. So let me share about my story, seeing as you may be wondering about me. So I've got a few pictures of myself there. I've been teaching since, when was it? 2010. And I've been teaching in China, in Bali, in Uruguay, and in Australia, and also online to thousands of children all around the world who needed to learn English. I made a support program for them during the pandemic as well, and for adults as well. So could you just take it off for a second so people could see my face again? Thank you. Yeah, it's just more powerful to share a story like this. So my story is, well, prior to being a teacher, actually, and probably most of my life I can remember, I actually did have anxiety. So I'm actually very willing to share that, because I think mental health really matters. And I think it's definitely something that can be addressed. And I did everything possible I could to work out the best way to help myself. I tried many different courses and different programs. And the one that really stuck with me was one meditation program, which is the Oneness Awaken program, which I'm now a trainer and a meditation and blessing healer for. And I basically received an energetic healing, which was a bit like a Reiki. There was me sitting there, a young girl, like, oh, what are they doing? The ego's there, like, oh, I don't believe this stuff, totally the opposite of how I am now with the ego. And I just suddenly felt really peaceful just for like a second. And I was like, oh, wow, that's what it feels like to have a normal brain, like to not have that anxiety that's buzzing around or whatever. And I probably didn't even call it anxiety back then, because I was probably so blocked to even share that that's what it was, right? But over time, I just kept going back every week to this same meditation group. And I was just really blown away by the transformation that was happening. So much so that I decided, after many, many years of working on myself, I still wasn't entirely happy. I was like, okay, there's still something missing in my life. I'm going to move overseas, Little did I know that that was going to be my turning point in my life and my actual full-blown awakening in my body. So I flew to India, and I've actually been a world traveler. So flying to India was not a big deal. I've been traveling my whole life. I've been in like 40 countries. So, it was just another trip. But I knew this was going to be special because I was there to receive beautiful, profound healings and meditation in this oneness center in India, in Chennai, that's run by Sri Amma and Sri Bhagavan. So I went there and spent a month doing a discourse. And yeah, literally my whole life changed from that moment. My brain had shifted, and they talked a lot about the neurochemical process there. And they actually showed us screenshots and images of people's brain scans prior to this course and after this course. And there was a gradual neurological process that can happen, which can happen to any of us by practicing mindfulness. And So from that moment on, I call it my awakening, the seeds of my awakening. I moved to Bali and I started teaching, which is what you could see in one of those photos at the bottom was me teaching in Bali. From that moment, I was feeling so happy. And I didn't actually share the backstory. So the backstory to that is prior to me going away to India, I was teaching in classrooms around Western Sydney. And oh my goodness, I have these images of children like jumping on the seats, like jumping crazy, like all around me, and all this chaos all around me, and me just kind of standing there, just like looking, or sometimes even screaming, because I was just like in this state of panic. Like, how can 30 children be so wild? Like, I was a casual teacher. It wasn't like it was my own class. So they were like, kind of like, I don't know, a little bit untrained because they were with somebody that they could feel was timid. And I just was like, I questioned myself. I'm like, am I meant to teach? But I knew in my heart how much I loved the children and how much I just wanted to teach them, and that there was something I needed to do with them. Okay, so after moving to Bali, I had my own class for the very first time, and I was living in I was in a school, like an international school, and it was completely different. It was just completely different. Like, I walked into the room and my heart was just present, completely present. And I could feel joy and happiness emanating from my heart. I could feel stillness in my body. All of this came because I'd been practicing mindfulness. I set the classroom up beautifully. I played mantra music. I moved all the tables around. I made it feel really, really beautiful before the children would enter. They would enter, and there was calmness in the room. There was joy. They were like, wow, we can't believe how happy you are. Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you as our teacher. And literally every day was the same. There wasn't a day that wasn't like that. And if a child would get upset, it would still be me being able to speak with them and be with them from a place of calm. So that's when I knew that mindfulness is real. Awakening is real. There's real results that can happen in your home and in education. And that's led me to teaching, led me to the path of teaching all around the world. And you're now being a voice for teaching of meditation and mindfulness. Could I go back to the slides again? Thank you. So you can see the bottom. Actually, the top one is me in China before my awakening. You can see I'm smiling and the children are happy. But if you look at the bottom one, I've got this like massive smile and the children are like jumping all over me. It's a subtle difference, but I can see the difference energetically. Perhaps you can too. Okay, so we've gone through that. Okay, so this is really interesting. So if every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we will eliminate violence from the world within 1 generation. The Dalai Lama. Wow. Let that drop in for a few moments. Okay, so what I want to share now is about mindfulness. There's a lot to share in a context of being inside a classroom. There's a lot to share in terms of being at home. And I want to cover both because, as I said, now the world has moved into this place where the classroom is the home and the home is the classroom. Ever since this pandemic, where our children were brought to our homes and we were brought back to connect with them again, rather than having them sent away to the teacher to be with them for the day. There's just been this shift, this paradigm shift. And I also find it interesting and remarkable as well how many new schools are being built across the world at this moment. These fantastic schools. A lot of people have just said, no, we don't want the system anymore. We're just going to create what we want. And right before my eyes, in my own country, in Australia, there's like literally thousands of schools being built, like in people's gardens. It's beautiful to see these learning hubs where they combined homeschooling parents and they combined teachers together. And they make like a small little community base and they kind of share their resources. And as I said, maybe they have some people who have natural skills that come in and also support the group as well. Like everybody's included, and all the titles and all the ego is gone in this new paradigm. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this slide, and it says mindfulness is not just the mind. It's also the body and it's also the spirit. I'll just let that drop in as well. So as far as I can remember, in school curriculums particularly, this word mental health has always been written into curriculums, but never the word mindfulness, never the word meditation. It's like they were woo-woo words, but they're not. They're ancient wisdom that is now finally being recognized and normalized for what it actually is. And there's so many studies. If you look at the study of Einstein, you know, with all of his quantum theories on energy, he states everything is energy, you know, and so he's referring to us, he's referring to education. There's so many different amazing people out there that have been writing about mindfulness in a different way. Yet in a curriculum, when I read the curriculum checkpoints for mental health, it's very much related to social and emotional learning, which again is not the full spectrum of what it could be. So I'll actually just jump slides and just show you this, and then I'll go back to the other slides. So this is the whole brain, okay? So we have, these are all the different aspects of our brain that we can access, that link to opening our mind and creating better education and more happiness for ourselves. Okay, so we have the amygdala, which is the emotions, which is what has been documented in a lot of curriculums, this idea of emotional intelligence, a lot of different learning theories and practitioners. And even when I was in university, we studied about different styles and methodologies of how we can suit children and cater for their learning and emotional needs. But that's only one aspect. That's not the whole picture. Of course, we have the left brain, the side that we all know about, the mathematical side, which is the hippocampus. I hope I said that correctly. And it's all about your learning and your memory. So again, it's very, very powerful and very, very useful to be able to access this. What people sometimes don't realize is, though, when you practice mindfulness, all of this expands. Like the whole brain is actually receiving expansion. I don't know how to explain it in a better way than that. So it's not like you're suddenly not going to remember your maths equations, or you're suddenly not going to remember your science work. Like it's just enhancing everything. Like your learning is going to become so much better. Your children's learning is going to become so much better. So that's the hippocampus, the learning and the memory. Okay, and then this prefrontal cortex, which actually kind of links in with the third, if you're looking at it from a meditation perspective, the third eye and the top chakra, the seventh chakra, it's called the prefrontal cortex. Okay, this is a beautiful place where it hasn't been recognized yet in schools to access this. But it's so important because this is the place of self-regulation. Okay, so what I was talking about earlier, when I said I walked into the classroom and there was chaos, I wasn't regulated. I was like in a state of chaos, and the classroom was chaos. Then I walked into the classroom, I was regulated. I was breathing happily. I was centered. I was still. The children mirrored my regulation. And what's beautiful is, as I said, it's not written in mainstream curriculums, but there's so many different alternative schools being built, and some that are very, very linked with empirical research as well. So this link I've written down below, mindfulnessschools.org, is amazing. It's got everything you need to know about the brain. It's got everything you need to know about how children learn. It's got different activities. It's got different links in there, which will help you to see that what I'm sharing today about mindfulness matters, especially in education, is real. Like it's documented, and, you know, I don't need it to be real. I know it's real in my body, in my soul. You know, I know it for certain, but maybe somebody who's still discovering that, still kind of, you know, tampering with this idea of, oh my gosh, what is meditation? You know, it's there. And so the power of this is that children are not only going to be learning EQ and IQ, but they're also going to be learning NQ. So I know some of you aren't educators and you're probably like, what is Monique talking about? So let me explain that. So the importance of the EQ, is what I was sharing earlier, was the emotional quotient. Okay, so as I said, social emotional learning is not a new concept. It's been around, I don't know the exact date, but it's been around, say, centuries. And people have been linking learning with social activities. So, you know, for example, this would be an example of, okay, well, let's set up a team environment. Let's set up some conversations around respect. Let's make sure that we are catering to all emotions when we are implementing our learning plans. Then there's the IQ, which is what came in through standardized testing which I don't even know is suited anymore, because that's made back in the industrialized revolution, which was made for factory workers who needed to have mathematical aspects in themselves to be able to complete their tasks. And we all know that that's only a fraction of how people learn. I can give you an example of that. I still teach maths, and at this moment I have one child I've been teaching maths, and she's so amazing. She gives me all of these answers. Like, I'll ask her one question and I'll say, what do you think? I'll read the question and ask her to answer, and she'll give me like this amazing answer. It's like completely out of the box, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I love your answer. I think we should do that instead of what it says written down here. But actually they want you just to have a number for this one. So you're going to have to access that part of your brain that has a number, and then you need to write the number down, and that's what they want. But you know what? You're going to do so much better in life because you have all these other ideas. That's just one example, right? So the IQ is needed, but we need the other aspects that go with it, okay? The NQ, I am almost certain nobody has heard of this. Am I correct? Well, the energetic quotient was actually coined in our book. So if you have heard of it, let me know. But one of our authors, Carrie Jesselo, she coined this term. It means the energetic quotient. So we discovered that by learning from the whole brain, that mindfulness matters, and that more learning can happen, because when you're also accessing your energy body, which, as I said, can be described as your frontal cortex, but on a deeper, profound level, it can be described as your whole body, your whole presence, your cultural background, your spiritual background, and the energy process, the quantum physics that goes with us being present here at this moment on the earth. There's a lot of different ways you can apply energetic quotient depending on where you are in terms of understanding energy. This is the actual additional aspect that we believe is potent and powerful in this new paradigm. So our children will be able to learn like amazing ways, because they have access to all of these aspects. I know for myself personally, I have so much more energy. I have so much more concentration. I am happy. I am regulated. I'm very rarely like emotional for a long time. I do get emotional, but it passes through my body really fast. All of this came by me working on my energetic quotient in my brain. And then the other parts just seem to just fall with that. So I wonder if anybody had any questions on that, because I really feel that that's a very, very big paradigm shift in education. And I really feel strongly about it being seen and heard as important. I'm just going to go back a slide. Okay, so also, I wanted you to feel into what is mindfulness, okay? So we all kind of throw around this term, mindfulness summit, health summit, mindfulness, what is it? Is it just sitting there like a monk all day? Is that what mindfulness is? How does it actually apply in the real world? How can you use it with your children? How can you use it in the classroom? So again, I've quoted a very reputable site to back up my sound knowledge that mindfulness is not just about self-care, okay? There's an interconnection that happens, okay? So mindfulness is not about asking students or teachers or parents just to take a breath, and then suddenly surprising a test on them. It's about being sensitive and making trauma-sensitive choices that support all bodies and experiences. So do you notice I've said all bodies in that? They're meaning all energetic bodies. Mindfulness is not only meditating a while away on a retreat. That's the old paradigm, right? Mindfulness is happening at every moment. It's about finding daily moments to respond instead of react, to savor the good, offer gratitude, to give our fullest presence and attention. So I can give us some activities that you can do to embody meditation and mindfulness into your life. Step number 1 would be focusing on you. Okay, think about yourself every moment of the day. Be responsible. That's when I said that we all need to be responsible, because education is not about, okay, I'm responsible for educating my child. It's like I'm responsible for educating myself to be the best person that I can be, to therefore role model and to show up and to emanate this amazing energy that is therefore going to transfer to my beautiful soul that I've brought to this world, my child, or my classroom that I'm there to facilitate. And then step 2 is through role modeling and through different activities and games, which I'll go through in a moment, you can then create mindfulness in a way that is easy. So I have gone through all those slides. I thought I had missed one, but I haven't. Okay, so mindfulness is a way of life. So you can see mindfulness is happening everywhere at every moment, just like education is happening everywhere at every moment. We don't need to sit down in a little box and close our eyes with our hands like this. And, you know, we can actually start to do that by being in nature. We can do that by taking a moment to feel our breath. We can do that by going on nature walks, doing art. There's so many different ways. I will go through that. Okay, so now we're on to the tips. Okay, so my first tip is around the environment. Okay, so actually, there's no excuse around the environment. Okay, I have taught in China where it's filthy and there's like nothing in the classroom. It's like bare and empty. And, you know, I've been in Bali in the same kind of situation. Like there's all this beauty around, and then there's this kind of box of a room that I'm given to create a happy place. Okay, so there's many ways you can make a mindful classroom, and it really does change the way that your children are going to learn, because and even in your home, getting rid of clutter and making a space for them, it's really going to help them. So first of all, I can give 2 tips. I'll focus one on educators and one on parents, or combine them, because as I've said, we're in this paradigm of everybody's learning everything. So if you are in a place where your classroom is not feeling perfect, first of all, you can just move around the furniture. You can create places for children to sit on the floors, bean bags. It's really important to create a calm corner in a room somewhere, that there's a place that's quiet. And ideally, you can educate children outdoors as well, because it's just amazing, all the chemicals and the processing that's happening in the brain by being outdoors. Okay. I know some of our other speakers are going to be talking about, you know, the power of different oils. And we had somebody speaking about music this morning, and they're both really, really powerful as well. Colors and visuals and things like that as well. Giving everybody a place where they feel safe and respected. Starting the day in a circle as well, as opposed to all segregated in a circle, seated together, looking into each other's eyes. Even that in itself is a mindfulness practice. How many of you look into your child's eyes every day for a long moment? And then the neighbors' children, and then the people on the bus, you know, everybody's on the phones. It's like, take a moment, sit in a circle, look into each other's eyes. Even if you're an educator, I would suggest all the education meetings happen in a circle, rather than us all sitting there typing, disconnected, not taking in that moment of the art of listening, like what I shared at the beginning around the art of listening. Okay, so the environment. I have been offering an amazing podcast called A New Paradigm of Education podcast, which is linked to our book. And I have been interviewing some amazing people about ideas of different schools that can be built, you know, based off crystal grids, based off labyrinths, based off, you know, gardening, based off, you know, the geographical systems of the world, based off domes. Like there's so many different ways, if you have that facility, to be able to sculpt and architect your own home or your own way. Amazing. You can even bring that magic out into your garden with your children at home on the weekend. Set up a little tent, set up a little maze with some little crystal stones, and get them into a little circle and get them to kind of follow the pathways around and explore things like that. You can also use mindfulness walks, which also fits into one of my points there, which is movement and nature. But taking children out regularly in nature is a natural regulator for children, because the wind, the sun, all the elements on their body, they're just naturally absorbing all of that, and they're receiving education just through nature without us doing anything. You know, a lot of the time we feel like we need to show them things, but there's so much stimulus happening, and education is just there. And what actually happens is, if we leave them and allow them to be curious, it allows some curiosity to rise up within them, which then allows them to feel interested, to want to learn about it and ask, well, what is this? And that's when the education can begin, as opposed to us force feeding education onto them, like in a curriculum, like, oh, today I must teach the children how plants grow. Okay, I better draw a picture on the board and hope that they'll want to see it. We're force feeding onto them what maybe they'd have no interest in at that moment. But the moment that it's needed in their life, the moment that they need to suddenly get their food, they'll be like, where does the food come from? Oh, how does that happen? And it just naturally starts to stimulate them to think of other ideas. Okay, tip number 2, are you regulated? This is a massive, massive, massive eye awakening moment for all educators, for all parents, for all of humanity. It's time to wake up. It's really time to wake up. We say we're regulated, we say we're happy, but are we really? What are you doing on a daily basis that allows you to really, really drop into your body, to honor yourself, to take those minutes for yourself, to be able to then take minutes for them? Even in a classroom, I might pause, I might take a breath for a second, and that second could be the moment a pencil is thrown. In the old paradigm, like boom, let's throw a pencil in that second, the teacher's breathing. But what if you did breathe? And then what if you just went over calmly and spoke to the child? Like, it's really important that you are in that state, because maybe the pencil is thrown and then boom, reaction. Oh, why are you throwing pencils? That's so disrespectful. That's hurting Billy, blah, blah, blah. And it's like this, they don't even hear what you're saying. They just hear a battle. They don't hear you. They just hear a battle. So if you're walking over, feeling calm, bending down, giving them eye contact, being at their level, and just being there present for them, eventually they're going to share. Okay? So I recommend every day, I would recommend 30 minutes a day. But if you want to start with 5 minutes a day, you can get a hypnosis app from YouTube. There's so many amazing ones. I used to just Google them and just experiment and see which ones I would like. I personally now love the Breathing Room app, because I know that this energy is encoded from the masters that I've been studying with in India. But there's so many options out there. So you can just put on some headphones and go to sleep for half an hour, or, for 5 minutes even, and just let that energy pour into you without doing anything. While you're working, you can play meditation music or hypnosis music in the background whilst you're typing or whilst you're doing stuff, so that your brain is constantly, it's doing it's being accessing one portal, but it's actually accessing other portals. Like while you're walking, while you're doing things, instead of talking on the phone to people, just go into that place, and your brain is actually getting an exercise and a workout. It's just training itself, like it trains itself to memorize a maths equation. It's the same. It's just going to be training your mind to tap into that area. And the more that you do it, the more easy it becomes. Like, I remember myself when I first was meditating, I would put a timer on for a minute and I'd close my eyes, and that minute would seem like forever. I was just like, oh my gosh, is this minute ever going to end? And now I can obviously do it for hours. And actually now I don't even need to do it, because I'm already in a place of regulation that whether my eyes are shut, whether my eyes are open, I feel the same inside, because I've been practicing it for over 20 years. Okay. So now that I've said about you being regulated, I also suggest strongly that there's like some kind of committee or some kind of process within a school, or even within your home, where you gather weekly and you say, hey, let's meditate, or let's create something that we can, instead of talking from one using only one aspect of our brain, let's meditate, or start a school assembly, rather than, the principal standing up there going like this, shh, like this. Everybody just, okay, close your eyes for a minute. Okay, arms up, arms down, close your eyes, relax. Let's look at the sky. Let's look around. Let's take a minute of silence, and just start the day every day like that. That is what is expected, that meditation will be flowing into the body, and it will just naturally happen that way. I've already explained the power of nature. Movement as well, because we all know the biochemicals in the body need endorphins. Endorphins used to be my favorite friend before meditation. That would be my only other escape from anxiety, was exercise. And I still love exercise, but I actually don't need it for the endorphin rush anymore, because I'm stabilized. But if you're still at a point, or your child is like got a lot of energy and they can't learn, children who have learning difficulties like ADHD and things like that, there's no point asking them to sit still. Don't. Let them run. Let them learn actively. Like, I teach children even online who you would think would hate sitting online because they have ADHD, and I hate labels, by the way, and I'm sorry to use labels. But it doesn't matter because I just keep them active. I'm constantly changing the screens. I'm constantly changing, my voice. I'm getting them up. I'm getting them down. I'm just working with the energy that they have. Like, I can see the moment that they look bored or that I've lost them. And I'm like, I've lost you, haven't I? I've lost you. Okay, let's do something else. And we just change. So there's no point asking them to do something that's not going to help them. And it's not mindful. Mindfulness is about knowing the big picture and looking beyond a certain structure. It's about looking at that individual. What do they need? And even if they only perceived learning, you see them learning for like a second, that learning compounds. And over time, I've taught children times tables. I know this might sound old paradigm. Oh, the times tables, that sounds really boring, but I'm open. I'm teaching children of all different, I have children that I can teach awakening skills to meditation, but I have children that still want to know the times tables. And so I make it interesting for them. And it's amazing how fast they learn because I am a space holder. I am not a teacher. I'm a total space holder for these children. And I really believe that's because of my mindfulness practice and me being able to really lock in my energy with their energy, really lock in our energy together. And I can take them on a journey with whatever they need at that moment, So yeah, that's another point, that results is the old paradigm. We don't need results, but results really do happen from mindfulness. Okay, so this is freedom and choice. That particularly refers to, again, the curriculum, the old-fashioned way where we follow the exam paper and we just follow one path. It doesn't work. It just closes the heart. Have you noticed how much your heart contracts when somebody says do something and you don't want to do it? Do you notice your heart just sinks, your body drops? You're just like, oh, really? It's the same for children, right? So if we have a place where we offer freedom, we offer choice, then what will happen is there'll be that moment when their heart opens, and from there they're curious, and from there they can learn. Okay? And that is like one of my biggest visions in the new paradigm, is allowing children for me to be a space holder for them to fully embody their vision, not somebody else's vision, and not like this boxed in vision. Like, their job in life might be to listen to the sound of whales and transmit that energy into somebody else who's going to feel peaceful. That sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But that could be what they're supposed to be here on Earth to do. They're not supposed to go sit at a computer all day. And there's going to be new ways of, new economies and new ways of people being able to be seen and monetize and have all of this freedom and stuff shown to them. Okay. So keep it short. So at first you might like to do short practices, like little 5-minute regular practices. Like, I know whenever I had a class, we'd just do little practices, in the morning, and then just before we go for a break, after the break, just after that, like little practices, and you can change them all up. So I know I keep referring to YouTube, but YouTube is a really good resource. It's got all the different types of kids yoga. If you don't know about kids yoga, it's got all different types of sounds, different things you can do like that. You can do drawing with children. You can take them, as I said, for the walks. Anything like actions, just do simple actions. There's actual Calm Kid programs that you can learn as well. There's a whole lot of different range of things you can do. And I think over time, it's like, once you can start to read how the children are responding and what they enjoy, you start to know more and more what will work for them. Okay. So with all of that said, what I actually wanted to do now was to go through a butterfly meditation with you. And this butterfly meditation, I actually downloaded while surfing for the book, because the book was just written in this beautiful place of allowance. There was no pushing for anything. It just came from this place of my heart opening, and then I'd share my wisdom. And so this was a meditation that in the book, you can do it in a short little 5-minute segment, which I'll probably do now because of the time, or you can expand it out to be longer depending on where the child is at. So it's just going to be a little butterfly that comes and lands on their body, and they have body awareness. And you can adjust this based off, you know, how you want to present it. So you could present it through the chakra system. You could present it just through the actual bodily the bodily system as well, like depending on if you want to focus more on a scientific perspective or if you wanted to focus more on a chakra process. Today I have the chakras on the screen. So just quickly look at that. We'll be going through the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. So could you just take off the slides for me, and I'll just present this to everybody. So if you just take a moment to close your eyes, feel your breath, explore how it is. Is it fast? Is it slow? Okay, I'm gonna actually make it more like for a child. So let me just adjust how I do it for a child. Okay. All right, children, can you imagine a beautiful butterfly that's just flying down into the room? It's so colorful and beautiful. Can you close your eyes just for a second? Show me how you close them. Ooh, okay. Now, what color butterfly did you see? Don't tell me the color because you need to keep it inside of yourself. If you didn't see a color, it doesn't matter. Okay, what we're going to do now is just wiggle, 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 shake, shake, shake. Let everything out of yourself. Go, go, go. Shake, 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 shake your whole body. You can even flap your wings like a butterfly if you want to. Oh, that feels so good, doesn't it? Okay, now we're going to be nice and still because we're going to get our butterflies to land on us. Are you ready? Okay, I'm ready too. So when I count to 3, we're going to close our eyes. We're going to sit still just for a few minutes, and we're going to watch the butterfly fly all over our bodies. Oh, and by the way, if you really hate butterflies, maybe you want to have a dragon. Maybe you want to have, what else could you have? A different animal that flies? A bird. Quickly, think of your animal. Okay, close your eyes. 3, 2, 1. And be statues, nice and still. Okay, let's breathe. As you breathe, can you put a beautiful smile on your face because it's such a sunny, sunny day today and there's a beautiful rainbow up in the sky. Okay, I can see the most magnificent butterfly or bird coming to fly down and land on your body just above your legs. Don't open your eyes, just let it flutter there for a minute. Okay, did you see a color there? Maybe you saw the color red. Maybe you saw a different color. Now the butterfly is going to fly up a little bit higher. It's just going just below your belly button. Oh, can you feel it flutter and tickle on you? Take a breath in and take a breath out. Go in, out. What color did you see? Okay, keeping your eyes closed. Let's take another breath in and out. Ooh, just like the wind. Okay, now let's move up into your stomach area. Oh my goodness, there's another butterfly that's coming to land on your stomach. Let's breathe in. Let's imagine our stomach is like a big balloon. Let's breathe the balloon out. Breathe the balloon in. That feels so good. Okay, butterfly. Did you notice a color there in your stomach or a sound or something? This butterfly is going to now fly up higher and higher and higher. It's going to land where your heart is. If you're not sure where your heart is, you can get your hands, you can put them where your spot that you breathe is, just where your ribs are, and you can put your hand on your heart if you want to. Maybe you can feel it beating. Can you hear it go gagoon, gagoon, gagoon? Breathe in, breathe out. Did you notice a color or a sound? Okay, butterfly, it's time to keep flying on our journey. This time we're going to go all the way up to the throat. Breathe in, breathe out. Your butterfly is getting more and more calm, more and more still. It's wanting to take a rest in a moment. Did you notice a color, a sound there? Okay, let's move up, moving up to in between your eyebrows. Where your two eyes are, in between your eyebrows. If you don't know where that is, you can even put your finger there and just touch it for a moment. Let's take a breath in together. And a breath out. That's the way. Hello, beautiful butterfly. What color is there today for you to see? And finally, the butterfly is getting ready for its final stop on the journey. It's going all the way up to the top of your head. Let's breathe in. Let's breathe out. It feels so good on the top of the head. It feels so peaceful, like it could almost just take a little sleep. If you're feeling sleepy right now, you can just allow yourself just to take a beautiful rest for a few more minutes. Have a look around at what you can see inside yourself. Do you see colors or sounds or pictures? Remember, don't tell me, you just look at it yourself. If you see nothing but black, that's okay too. Just imagine your butterflies with you. Okay, it's time to say goodbye to our butterfly. So we're going to let the butterfly fly up high into the sky. And as it goes, we're going to say, thank you so much. I am so, so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so, so grateful. And remember, with a gentle, gentle smile on your face, you can open your eyes again. And then when you feel ready, you can move your body. You can stand up and shake it if you want. You don't need to sit still anymore. Anyway, that's the idea of the routine that I would share. Could you go to my last slide, please? So I actually change that a lot. It just depends on the children and what they need, and obviously the timing and things like that. Okay, so here's a moment to now contemplate and co-create. So meditation, a new paradigm of education is a space for co-creation. Think about collaborating with your child. Think about collaborating with educators, business owners, parents, everybody together. What is it that you wish to create? Maybe you need to start with, what is it that I wish to decreate? You know, the old paradigm. What do I need to debunk? I'm sure there's a list of those things. And from there, after you've done a meditation or you're in a space where your heart is open, consider this for yourself. What is your vision for a new paradigm of education? You know, I have interviewed so many people around the world with that same question. And a lot of the time it comes back to being happy. They can say different wants and needs they have, but a lot of the time it just simply comes back to, I want my children to be happy. I want them to learn in the best way they can. And believe me, all of that just comes through this practice of mindfulness. So with that in mind, what is one thing you can do today yourself to embody mindfulness? Embodying it, not just saying you're doing it, not half doing it, but fully living it moment to moment. Every single moment is a chance to be mindful. So here's a list of resources I've put together. The mindfulnessschools.org site is fantastic. The breathing room app I've already mentioned. I host weekly meditation sessions for adults, for kids, for anybody who wants to join in. I also teach classes and help children specifically with whatever needs they need in terms of education. And I do it in the most loving way, as you can imagine, as you've seen. I'm in a space of co-creating a new paradigm with other educators, parents, and people. So if you're interested in that, join a new paradigm of education group, because we're going to be co-creating some amazing things together. And finally, our book, A New Paradigm of Education, which you can see the logo there. It's an international bestseller in about 7 different countries. It has heaps of resources and tips in there, like lists and lists of different activities that you can do that's going to help and support you as well. And 10% of that is also going to the Unstoppable Foundation as well to help our children. So with all in that in mind, I really hope that I've served you today with what you needed. And if you need anything else, please reach out to me, because literally it's my life's vision and my life's mission to support the children of this world in whatever they need that is for their highest good. And we all have a chance to do that. It's not just about me, it's about all of us co-creating and being the change that you wish to see in the world. Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much, Monique. That was amazing. Feeling a bit sleepy after the meditation, actually.
Oh, good. Relax.
That was amazing. And yeah, I think there's, when people have come back to the room, they will put something in the comments. But
oh yeah, totally. If there's any questions later, I'll check in and help whoever's wanting to be helped, and hopefully everybody can do it from a mindful space while they're absorbing the information.
Yeah, and that would be lovely. And we will put the links in the comments for people to be able to connect with you. But yeah, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And if you are watching on replay, then as Monique just said, she'll be checking in on the video and answering any questions. So please don't hesitate to put anything in there and ask about this great new vision. So thank you very much, Monique. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. And join us in an hour with Debbie Lidgard. And yeah, we will see what else we have got. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.